We need revival in this nation. We need it badly, and we need it now. And I talked to Franklin Graham about that. Look, he's at the forefront of calling for a revival, for re-evangelizing the United States. And he broke down, look, if we don't do that, we can have a Josiah rise up, and we have that, say, a 10-year, 15-year window, things improve. But then if we go back to our old ways, we turn away from God, ultimately it's all going to collapse like a house of cards.
Hey there, folks. If you listen to this program on the radio, you probably think of it as a radio program. That would be appropriate. But many people watch this program once a week on TBN, and then it's a TV program. But there's a whole lot of other stuff on TBN. If you're a TBN watcher, you're familiar with my friend Erick Stakelbeck. And I just got breaking news, ding, 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 breaking news, that he is doing a special Monday the 7th. That's the day before Election Day. It's called Restoring America. He has such a raft of big shot guests that I thought, why don't I get Erick Stakelbeck on this program to talk about what he's going to do on TBN on Monday, November 7th. And here he is, Erick Stakelbeck. Welcome.
Eric, great to be back with you.
All right, so what's the theme of this program? It's called Restoring America, airing the day before the election.
Eric, as you've laid out so eloquently on your show, we are in big trouble, obviously, in the United States. The country is completely divided on so many levels. The radical left is on the march. We have weakness in Washington, D.C. We're at a tipping point, I believe, in this nation, not even to mention a turning away from God in many cases. So what can we do to turn this thing around? Restoring America, as the title suggests. And one of the things I did, Eric, in researching this program was to look at where it's working. Where are things working in the United States right now, especially after the chaos of the past 2.5 years? Florida and Texas are two major success stories where they're using common sense policies, Eric, in a time when common sense is not so common, whether it's economically. There's a reason people are flocking to Florida and Texas. They're leaving blue states and they're kind of relocating to red states. And a reason for that, I think, number one, obviously economic benefits, but personal freedom. The kind of freedom this nation was founded on, personal freedom in a place like Florida, in Texas. They rejected, the governors of those two states, mask mandates, vaccine mandates. They kept the schools open whenever they could. So I was able to grab Ron DeSantis, the Florida governor, and Greg Abbott, the Texas governor.
You got two governors in one program? Two governors, one program. That's a pretty big deal. Seriously, that's pretty terrific. And it's funny, Eric, to me, I always have to, comment on the hilarity of it, that in Texas and even more so in Florida, you have two leaders who have really done nothing extraordinary. They have gone with what almost any idiot in America, anyone with common sense in America, you're raising your kids, you're living your life, you're just, a normal person like you, like me. You see what makes sense and you do it. So here you have two governors who've basically done the basics, but we're living in a time of such lunacy that the basics looks radical to the rest of the country. So it's almost like we have an experiment. Like in these two states, we're going to do what pretty much anybody would do. Every non-expert who just knows enough to know the basics, this is pretty much what they would do. But at this point in the lunacy in which we live, it takes real leadership to do the basics. And that's what we've had in Greg Abbott and especially in Governor Ron DeSantis. And the results, again, it's like a laboratory. The results have been amazing. As you just said, people are flocking to these two states, which makes all the sense in the world. But I kind of find it funny that like most Americans know what would work, what's basic, what's crazy, but we've only had two governors really with the leadership skills to pull this off. And now the dividends have been extraordinary.
Yeah, and Eric, they stood against this whole woke virus from the very beginning, especially during COVID. They said from the beginning, look, we're not going to do lockdowns. We're not going to do the mask mandates, vaccine mandate. We're not going to mandate it in our states. And they did that against relentless pressure from the mainstream media, from the left, from the Biden administration. But these two governors stood strong, to their credit. And Eric, in the show, we talk a lot about this poisonous woke ideology that really seeks to take the United States down, quite frankly, in every area. And DeSantis and Abbott have stood strongly and vocally against that. It's almost like those two states, Texas and Florida, are a refuge for sanity right now. So we dug into especially what's going on in the schools, critical race theory, the gender madness, and how Texas and Florida and these two governors are standing against that as well, and why that's so important. And on the same vein as education, as part of this program, Eric, we also interviewed Michelle Bachmann, former congresswoman, a dean right now at Regent University, one of the top Christian universities in the country. She had some very strong things to say about reclaiming our school system. And again, pushing this woke madness out. Every guest we had on this program stressed the importance of that.
I have to say, Michelle Bachmann is one of the true heroes out there. As I've gotten to know her over the last few years, I've just been amazed at the depth of her faith. Because, when somebody says, oh, I'm a Christian, or to me, that no longer means anything. They can still be crazy and off in every way. Michelle Bachmann is really, she's been a hero. As you mentioned, she's at Regent University. I wish she would run for governor or senator of something. You also on the program, so you have Governor Ron DeSantis, Governor Greg Abbott, Michelle Bachmann. You also have Franklin Graham on the program. What do you talk to him about?
When we talk about restoring America, ultimately, Eric, as you know, there's not a political solution. Ultimately, this is a spiritual battle. We need revival in this nation. We need it badly, and we need it now. And I talked to Franklin Graham about that. Look, he's at the forefront of calling for a revival, for re-evangelizing the United States. And he broke down, look, if we don't do that, we can have a Josiah rise up, and we have that, say, a 10-year, 15-year window, things improve. But then if we go back to our old ways, we turn away from God, ultimately it's all going to collapse like a house of cards. The main thing we need to do, the main message of this program, is the need for revival. And by the way, hand in hand with that, we also interviewed Secretary of State Mike Pompeo for the program, and a man of faith, obviously. And not only that, he stressed the need for America as part of reviving this nation, turning back to God, reviving our standing as the leader of the free world, as a moral beacon for the world, as a city shining on a hill once again. So we also talked about America's place in the world and being a moral leader in the world, something he knows very well, having served as Secretary of State.
And who is Matthew Peterson? I see him also on the guest list.
Matthew Peterson, Eric, this is a guy to keep an eye on. He is very active in this push, basically, to have conservative-minded, tradition-minded Americans, Christians, kind of band together. Big tech, obviously. The left controls big tech, corporations, social media. Can we continue to form our own platforms, our own venues to get the message out, and where we're not reliant on people who, quite frankly, hate us and do not share our values? So he's got a lot of interesting things to say about that. He's a young guy and an up-and-comer, I think, for sure. And he's got very, very strong prescriptions on how to cure this woke virus.
Okay, so this is Monday night, November 7th, 8 p.m. Eastern on TBN.
Yes. And night before the midterms.
And how long is the show?
It's a 1-hour program.
Okay, this is a big deal. So, folks, check out TBN. Now, look, you should be checking out TBN always. But Monday, November 7th, 8 p.m. Eastern. It's a really an impressive raft of guests. And I've said it many times, Eric, that there is no doubt that God has allowed things to get this bad to wake us up. This is what he does in his mercy, to let things get so bad that people who ordinarily would sit on their hands begin to take action, really get serious about praying for the country and taking prayerful action in the country. So we're just thrilled you're doing the show. That's November 7th, 8 p.m. Eastern on TBN. Erick Stakelbeck, thank you.
Thanks, Eric.